What are some of the issues that are most concerning to residents here in Crooksling?
Well, several issues are of concern. First of all, misrepresentation. We are misrepresented as being far right wing or something like that, where all we are concerned for two parties. We're concerned for our own safety. We're also concerned for the immigrants that are being brought in. We feel everybody's being abused by the government and we're being misrepresented by the media as well.
And in terms of the resources here, it's obviously a pretty small town. How much pressure are the newcomers putting on the resources available to the people here?
Well, we already have a septic system that needs overhauling. We already have a water treatment that needs more help. And we don't have any shops, we don't have any post office, we don't have any resources. I constantly see these poor people walking all the way down to City West, 4 kilometres to try and get anything. That shouldn't be. So there's inadequacy of that, there's an inadequacy of public transport as well. We have a 65 bus that runs every 2 hours. That's not good enough when you've got hundreds and maybe even thousands of people going up to Crooksling.
Well, Crooksling Nursing Home is way back, and over 100 years ago, the Verskeil family gifted it to the community of British to be used for the elder care. And I myself worked up there for 20 odd years. And in 2020, say for the last 15 years, they've been trying to close down Crooksling, even though there's 54 acres up there, which they could have easily built a new place on when the money was available, but they didn't. So at 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, they moved 60 residents out of it, and some of them to Time North, some to Maynooth, some to Baltinglass. And with the result, 17 people died within 2 weeks of being moved because some of them were already palliative care from the COVID. But anyway, our fight was that land was gifted to this community here. We wanted it kept for health care. We have an ageing population, so that land we feel belongs to us and to be given back to us by the HSE. The HSE hadn't even registered for that. When we started the fight first, the Eastern Health Boards, it was all broke up, Eastern Health Board, Western Health Board, they were running it. So when we actually started fighting and we went in and looked at the deeds, the HSE hadn't even got their name on the deeds. So I think it was in about 2015 the HSE only put their name on the deeds. And now they're saying what can happen and they're handed it across. So the people of the area are very angry because they feel very let down, and there is absolutely no communication from anybody of what's going on up there.
So since it's been set up and since there have been some local demonstrations, has any politician or local representative engaged with you or advocated on your behalf?
No, not particularly. If you have been at our meetings, but you might hear of them and then they're gone again. We're not getting any. There was a group of us went to Leinster House there about 5 weeks ago to the Department of Integration and had all what we wanted done immediately, like street lighting, like there's nothing out here. And they were to get back to us within 2 weeks. We still haven't heard from them now. And you're just leaving, and we have one of our TDs that are here in the area. She didn't know this was happening this week. She said to us, "No, I don't know if she did or didn't." But no, we're getting no communication from our local representatives here.
And speaking of buses, what is the bus service like? What is the connectivity to Dublin City for the people who are, essentially just staying here? And I guess they're not working. People have been raising concerns about what they're doing all day. Is it possible for them to get to and from Dublin as and when they want?
The buses seem to be very packed now. Yesterday evening there we witnessed the bus and it was full capacity. There was a lot of school kids coming home, and I think it seemed like a lot of the school kids were actually standing on the bus, and the migrants were actually upstairs in the bus, and they came down when they got off, and then the kids proceeded to go back up to the seats that they had left. So the buses are packed. It's definitely impacting on public transport now. I think even a bus yesterday evening actually passed by the bus stop because it was full. So there was 10 or 15 migrants there sitting at the bus stop, and the bus stop actually just drove past because it was full. The law has been abandoned. Planning laws, even the IPAS regulations are being abandoned now at this stage. They can't even adhere to their own rules. The law is gone when it comes to immigration.
You mentioned, I think there's been a bit of an estate built up there without planning permission. That was actually brought up by Councillor O'Neill. Yeah. What actually is going on there? Have you seen that, or do you know much about what's been done?
Yeah, it's there's over 30 houses being built at the minute. Works haven't stopped, and I think they're going to continue. And what I've heard is that there could be a second phase of houses built as well. So they've already completed, I think it's 30 apartments that have already been completed up there. So 30 apartments, 30 houses, and maybe another phase of building work. Wicklow County Council seem to be dragging their heels a little bit. Jerry O'Neill's tried to highlight it. Other councillors are not helping him back it up. You know, he needs to get a motion in the chambers in Wicklow County Council to raise it, but other councillors are not helping him. They're actually hindering the situation being highlighted within the chambers of Wicklow County Council.
Apart from the very limited bus service that we have here, there was a school bus at one point here bringing the kids to schools in local areas, Temple Oak and that kind of thing, and that was pulled after COVID, and we haven't been able to get it back. So the only bus service that we have is the 65, which is very sporadic. Yeah, so they have to share it with all the asylum seekers that are currently in Crooksling. Also, the numbers of men that are getting onto the bus it's very intimidating for the children. Even there's quite young children going to the school from the ages of 12, and they shouldn't have to be put in that position. Not only that, within this area there is no facilities, there is no shops, there is no post offices, there's no doctors or anything within this area, and we all have to have cars to get to shops and stuff like that. So the only way they can do it is through this bus service, this very limited bus service. But the facilities down in Crooksling are very limited too, in terms of water. The only water in that facility is a well, and that's all on a water table, which we all have to feed off in this area. So you're going to put that under severe pressure too. Not only the sewage is not up to scratch in that area too, the buildings are still uninhabitable, so they're in tents, which it's not right on them, and it's not right on the people here either, to kind of overload the system within this area with this number of people. I mean, if the people were brought in, if it was done correctly, it would be fine. If there was proper facilities in place and that all these people were brought in and properly vetted, there wouldn't be any problem with the communities. Everyone would try and help and rally around. And we have met with the departments, a certain few here from the Crooksling area have met with the departments and tried to open a line of communication to try and solve some of the issues that we have here. But so far we're not getting anywhere with them. And the first meeting was on the 19th of March. And we haven't really had any response.
Over St. Patrick's Day, quite a few of the men who were encamped on Mount Street were actually brought to Crooksling, and then, you know, quite famously now tried to make their way back into town. Did you see that, and what happened around that incident?
I saw what was going on there. It was just out of curiosity. We stopped to see what was going on. We'd heard there was busloads, so we went down to see what was going on. And at that point then they were actually trying to leave the area. And we asked them why, and they said it was too cold, which we all know it is. That all of us that live here know it is cold here, and it's quite rural. So they wanted to leave, and we were actually trying to help them. Whereas other media, they actually said quite the opposite, that we were abusive to them, which we weren't. We spoke to them, we understood where they were from and what their problems were, but the whole situation was completely wrong because there was no facilities in Crooksling for them. But as regards talking to them, helping them, we would be open to that, but it's the government's job to do it, and they should have planned this out better before they just shoehorned them into a below par facilitated site.
And when you say there's no facilities, what is there actually? Is it just tents? Is there a kitchen? Like, are they being serviced with, like, what exactly are they being provided with by the government?
As far as I know, what's down there is there's food brought in 3 times a day for them. As far as I know, there's no kitchen facilities for them. There's no washing facilities for them. There might be temporarily set up showers and that kind of thing, toilets, but other than that, there's nothing else. It's tents, it's military style tents.
Can you tell us a little bit about your own experience with Crooksling, your memories there?
Yeah, well, I live in Crooksling. My family are there generations. My granddad would have worked there in the kitchens donkeys years ago. My aunt was the hairdresser up in the daycare. My nanny attended the daycare. We attended mass up there at the weekends, and as a child I always remembered the summer fetes and the the lovely markets they used to have up in the hall, and then all the old lovely patients, they were all just so nice. Like, it was, you know, it was a lovely place to be.
And what's it like now that that facility is not available to the local community anymore?
It's terrible. I mean, like, my own mum now needs daycare, so we go down to Rathcoole, but I have to bring her. And whereas we used to have a bus in Crooksling that'd go around collecting all the elderly, so I do know from that closing there's an awful lot of elderly in the area that aren't going to daycares that would really greatly, you know, come on from it and, you know, interact with people, and they're kind of stuck in their home, especially since COVID. Like, we found a lot in the area of just, you know, they haven't left their homes. Now, the same with my own mum, we kept her, she's MS, we kept her safe, didn't let anyone in. And then she kind of isolated herself, she didn't want to leave the house, so she goes to daycare now. It was a fight to get her to go, but she goes now and she loves it. But I wish it was still up the road. And
do you have any hope that you'll get it back?
You know, I find it strange where they say they didn't have money for the elderly and didn't have money to keep it up to standard, but yet the money's there for this. I know everyone has to go somewhere. It's the lack of communication, the no regard for the community, the no interaction with any of us whatsoever, of the people that live right on the gate or whether it be a couple of 100 metres up the road. We've had nothing from no one. We've written to all the TDs, no response, just, you know, nothing. Haven't gotten any of our questions answered.